told them at some point, he says, I'm going to go and I'll be gone until I show myself in Galilee. Right. He didn't tell them where he will be meeting them. He didn't say what time he will be meeting them. He just said, I will show myself in Galilee. He said, so now is his time, he's about to do it. All right. What we have here in the text, we see that Simon Peter, Thomas, Nathaniel, and James and John, and two others, they are about to do something here. Peter said, I'm going fishing. Now notice he said, I am going fishing. All right. He didn't say, y'all, come on, let's go fishing. He said, I am going fishing. So when he said that, the others that so used to being together, that he said, I'm going too. All right. Now, one of the things that is mistakenly taken here is that because he says I'm going fishing, people feel like he was going back to his old ways. No, I have to disagree with that. Because see, they was fishermen before they met Jesus. And they was making their living. So it was necessary for them. Now Jesus had fulfilled, he had died. But he was showing his superiority to them. So having doing that, he was like, okay, but we got to make a living. Now we do know that Peter was the only one married. So he had to make a living doing what he was doing. So he went back, I'm going fishing. I'm not just going to stand here. I know he said he'll meet us. We don't know where he's going to meet us. We don't know when he's going to meet us. But he's going to meet us. So I'm going fishing. Peter got up and he went fishing and the others came with him. Now, I want to show you something else here. He says the others went with him. Now, Thomas, first of all, you have Peter. Peter, he was a warm-hearted person that loved God, but he didn't know how to express it. He cut off the ear. He was walking on water one minute. So, he was just totally out there. But at the same time, he denied Jesus. He denied him. But then you got Thomas. Thomas Didymus. He is what? That Maya stands for twin. So he was a flip or destroy people. So what I'm saying to you today is that there's many characteristics that was going on here. Many characteristics. And I want to remind us and caution us that in our discipleship walk, we bring in many characteristics. We go through a lot with doubters. And I don't like to refer to Thomas as being a doubter per se, because see, Thomas was not the only one that doubted Jesus when he came back. Had that doubt because he had everybody else doubted too. They just pointed out Thomas. Yeah. So everybody was a doubter because they had to see what it was that Jesus was doing. Remember, they didn't believe the ladies. They didn't believe the disciples when they went to them. So they had to do this. So when we look at that, he says that they went forth. They got together and they went forth. Now, it's not a setback. Peter did not go through a setback. Peter temporarily did what he needed to be doing. So when they went forth and they entered the ship, and they entered it immediately. But we have to remember something. That in the midst of all this, Jesus was no longer there to teach them. He was no longer there to walk with them. He was no longer there to just do everything. So he had to show himself on and off. You know how it is when we're trying to separate ourselves from a situation? Right. And it's not good to just walk right away from it, from just cold turkey, especially when a person in your life is important. So you gradually wean them off. So Jesus had to say, I got to accomplish this. I got to make them know who they are and remind them of the faith and the trust that we built when I was walking here on this earth. So having said that, they said, well, okay, we going fishing. And so now Jesus is he's about to do a whole different thing. When he said, it goes on to tell us that when the morning comes, what did they do? Jesus stood on the shore. He stood on the shore, but disciples did not know him. All right. They did not know him. And let's look at it. We can look at it two ways. The conditions of the shore, around the lake. First of all, let's understand that they fished at night. Right. We might fish in the daytime, but they fished at night. So fishing at night, they was able that morning, because see what happens when you fish at night during that region, because that was their living, their catch was carried into the market to be sold that next morning. So they was fishing at night. And when they looked up, and now know these people are professional fishers. So they knew how to fish. Right. They knew how to get what they were supposed to be out there getting. But for some reason, they wasn't getting anything. They didn't get anything. Okay, so they fishing, they didn't get anything. So all of a sudden, this figure that's standing on the shore. Now, I like to believe that God did not play games. He wasn't confusing anybody. He wasn't in the spirit at that time, because the spirit is not bones, and he wasn't able to do what Jesus was doing on the shore. So when I say that, I say that Jesus himself now was showing himself, but they just didn't recognize him. How many of you understand that the further away from things you get, the less and less you recognize? If you're looking from a far distance, you might say, hey, look like I know that person over there, but you just don't recognize them anymore because they're no longer in your presence all the time. And that was the situation with Jesus. He was no longer in their presence all the time. So when they just hear somebody on the show say, hey, children, and which is an affectionate term. He affectionately calls us children. They're children. He said, do you did you happen to catch any meat? He said, no. All right. Now, Jesus already knew the answer to this when he asked that question. He said, no, we didn't catch no meat. He says, okay. He said, then catch the net on the right side of the boat. All right. And you'll find the net. All right. Now, what is the difference in the right side and the left side? The boat was right there. All right. But the difference on the right side and on the left side is that the side that was on, that they had the fish, they had God not allowed. He could have swept all the fish under the boat still, but they still would not have been able to understand his presence. They would not have been able to understand that God was still with them. Yeah. Because so he said, hey, cast it over there. Cast it on the other side. Mm-hmm. So finally, they did what God asked them to do, what Jesus asked them to do. And they was able to draw in, what did he say? A multitude of fish. A multitude of fish. And it's also said that it was great fish. So what, they was all big fish. They was all for their good big fish. That was perfect. It was filled to the max. And then, so at this time, the disciple who claimed he was identifying himself as the disciple that Christ loved, he says, is it the Lord? Now he's getting a little recollection, or it's coming back to him, because before now, this wasn't an unusual thing that they had cast net in another time. And he said, cast it into the deep. But he said, is this Lord? And when Peter heard that, he girded up his coat. They said he was naked, but he wasn't. He had on his undergarment. A fisher's coat was one that came to the waist, and they were fishing, but he had down to his last layer of clothes, and he didn't feel presentable to go into the presence of God. All right. And as he said that, he went. He jumped into the water. He didn't have time to wait. Now be patient with me. I'm going somewhere with this. It says he didn't have time to wait. So he just jumped into the water and he started swimming. Once they said, is this the Lord? Come on now. And the other disciples, what they did? They stayed in the ship, but they wasn't that far from land. So they got it and they dropped the nets into. They did not even try to load the nets because there were so many. I said to you this morning that are we fishing on the wrong side of the boat? Like, are we fishing on the wrong side of the boat? And I asked that question because, see, as disciples, the world would not be in the state it's in if the church people, the disciples of Christ, was fishing on the right side of the boat. Right. If we take time to look at the problems that's going on in the world, if we take time to raise our children, and not necessarily, most of us here have done our share raising our children, but be able to reach out and to give that advice. Are we fishing on the wrong side of the boat? Sometimes on this disciples' journey, we got to take that net and cast it on the other side. All right. But let's be mindful of something now. The other side it can only be the side where who's to say right or wrong? Because like I said, the boat was not that big. But the right side is God's side. That's where we have got to be. We have got to be on God's side. Yes. We can't be on our side. We can't be on nobody else. We got to be about God's business. We need to hear from God. When we go through disappointments, but we keep casting that net in the same water. Yes. We keep looking for the same thing. We keep casting, expecting to get different results in the same place. There's no way that we can continue to do that. You got to make a change. Now, change has got to come, and that change only going to come is when you take that net and cast it on the other side. Now, I want y'all to notice something. That not one time did Jesus say, don't campaign, still doing the same thing, still looking for the same different results in the same place. So you can't sit on that dead end of that street and expect to get out of there just by sitting there looking for, oh boy, where's the dead end? How do we get out of here? You don't get out of it. You have to turn around and do something different. People of God, we have got to do something different in our lives. Yes. We can't proclaim that we want to have better relationships, but we're going to still fish in that same water. We can't say that we want a better relationship with God and we're going to still fishing in that same lake, in that same area. Yeah. Because if you hadn't got it, you're not going to get it. It's time to honor yourself and be obedient and move over to the other side of the boat. Right. The other side of the boat got some good stuff there. And I'm so thankful for the choir because they helped me out with this a whole lot this morning. You know, showers of blessings on the other side of the boat. That's right. But also, you know, we can thank him. We can't thank him enough on that other side of the boat. So Jesus was on a mission. He was trying to teach them what it was that they were supposed to be doing. Because now, in 10 days, he's gone. He's gone. He will no longer be able to be looked upon by them no matter how. He just shows up every now and then. But he was standing there saying, you know, I taught you this lesson. We have been taught. We understand what it is that God wants. But sometimes we are just so hard-hearted, stubborn, that we refuse to do what God would have us to do in the manner that He is. I mean, you know, I hear so many people say, I heard from God, and He told me to do this. But at the same time, it's not working. God's not going to tell you nothing wrong. That's right. He's going to tell you what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And if God has truly told you, you're going to be showered with blessings. Showered with blessings. So now, and I want to show you that it was a blessing on that show. Because it's for us. We pray for a job. We pray for a particular job. We pray for family members to act a certain way. But when he's on the show and our opportunity there to make a difference, we don't go to that show. We we kind of hee-haw around, and then when you get there, the blessing is no longer there. Because sometimes God do take his blessings off the table because you're taking too long to receive what he has for you. So we have got to understand that that blessing is for us. God wants us to get it. He don't want to confuse us. He wants all his children to be blessed. But what was happening on the show was a whole different thing. What was happening on the show was the fact that Jesus was standing there. But he wasn't just standing there. He had started with, just drop your net on the other side. Right. So dropping your net on that other side, and you start rolling in the blessings. He started rolling in the blessings. Blessings, many blessings, is what God has for us. Oh, yeah. When you're fishing on that right side, there's peace on that right side. Come on. When you're fishing on that right side, there's forgiveness in your heart on that right side. Yes. When you're fishing on the right side, you love people anyway, in spite of whether they want you to or not. Yes. When you're fishing on that right side, your relationship is easier to handle because you are at peace with God. Yes. When you're fishing on that other side, sickness no longer be a play govern your life, but you keep pressing on because you know on that show, God's got breakfast ready for you. He's already ready, and he's cooked it up, and he wants us to come get it. So go get your blessing. Go get your blessing. God has that blessing. We may be doing normal, but you need to do something differently. Yeah. You need to do something different. I'm going fishing because guess what? I want what he got on the other shoulder. Yeah. I don't have to take a lot of that weight with me. Yeah. I don't have to do a lot of hooping and hollering. I can go quietly, but I'm going in a straight line. To that other shore. Because guess what? I want to eat breakfast with him. See, I know that he promised us. He promised us eternal home. He promised us so much more. But he also promised us so much more on this earth if we just take that opportunity and seek him, be humble ourselves, be obedient, and go get what's on the other shore. I suggest, I don't know now, I said I'm going to do this, but I suggest you go fishing. Pick up your fish, go fishing. And see what God has for you. And watch you roll in the blessings. That natural blessing. Watch you roll in the blessings. That advancement of job. Watch you roll in the blessings as you fish on the other side. Yes. Quit doing the same thing that we've been doing. And do it differently so that God will know that we are serious and we want to be about his business, and we're bound and determined that we are going to do what it is he has us to do, whether if it's 1 or 2, 3 or 4, we're going to still